welcome. That's severely out of focus. Help me out here, camera, please. God, hello and welcome to episode 90 of Brews Less Traveled, the podcast exploring the best uncharted beer scenes across these United States. I'm your host, Brian. Of course, that's me. I'm Brian. I'm back here again, and we have an old friend of the podcast joining us this week and for the rest of the episodes of Sioux Falls. Please welcome, I think, tying MC for the most co-hosting runs, Isaac Bell. How's it going, Isaac?
It's good, Brian. How are you?
I'm good. We did our first canning run at the brewery I work at today. And we did 5 brands. We packaged 250 cases of beer. Took all day. It was crazy. Good times. I'm very tired.
I think anybody that ever runs a canning line at any brewery is working very hard to train somebody else to do that job so they don't have to.
Pass the buck. Yeah, I in full disclosure, I was working actively for 4 brands of the canning, and then I stepped away and somebody else stepped into my position when they moved on to the 5th one, which I was thankful for. How are you doing, Isaac? Long time no see.
Yeah, good. Been on the road, joining here kind of impromptu today. Looking over the beer list, looking a little wild. We were just joking around about that. Looks like everybody's got a marinara sauce on deck.
Yeah. Yes, and the chat is asking about the beers tonight. We are going to start with that marinara sauce. No, we're going to start with the Sgt. Pepper. But yes, we are featuring some more beers from the wonderful city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Tonight, specifically, we're featuring beers from A Homestead Brew, which is a local Sioux Falls area, just outside of Sioux Falls, brewery that opened back in 2017. They mostly focus on spontaneous beers and farm-to-table beers, sourcing as many ingredients locally as they can, hence the peppers and tomatoes in our first beer tonight. And they do some really awesome stuff, and excited to drink their beers and talk a little bit about what they're doing there. Full disclosure, snowstorm pummeling the Sioux Falls, South Dakota area. So our planned guest tonight had some difficulties getting internet connection, couldn't get to the brewery where there is internet connection, and just bad luck being in southeastern South Dakota. So we're going to carry on. I got my good friend Isaac here. We're going to talk a little bit about what Isaac does for a job. We've had Isaac co-host on the show before, and we've talked a little bit about what he does in terms of drinking beer. But Isaac's job very heavily involves beer and traveling and exploring different beer scenes across the country. So I feel like that ties in perfectly with our show here. And we're going to talk a little bit while we have a couple beers, and let's open our first beer from A Homestead Brew. This is their Sgt. Pepper. It is an American lager made with heirloom tomatoes and smoked peppers. It's very interesting.
In for a wild ride.
Yeah. Oh boy. It definitely smells like peppers and tomatoes. Somebody in the chat is asking, when is my brewery? And we'll give a plug. Whoa, I've gonna put beers in a BLT box. Well, you have to stay tuned for that. We may feature Pittsburgh again in the future, and we would certainly be open to that. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. I like that logo, by the way. This is
yeah. Do you see the little hidden gem in there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Well, the Tiku glass. Yeah. Wow. This is something else. I don't think I have ever had a beer like this. I've had a lot of different beers on this podcast and through my travels and work and just adventures with beer, and this is really something else.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like tomatoes from here.
Yeah, you definitely get that tomato. You definitely get that smoked pepper on the aroma. The pepper spice a little bit hits on the back end when you sip it. And you joked about spaghetti sauce or tomato sauce, but it really is as good as you could possibly do it. Tomato sauce as a beer. It is so welcoming as a beer and like and homey with those very interesting ingredients there.
I very consciously try to hydrate and don't drink enough water, even though I know that I should be drinking water all the time. And so I'm a huge fan of liquid IV if you've ever used this before. Um, but I ran out, and so what I've been using most recently, and this there's a tie in here, I promise, is the Gatorade packets, which you can find at the grocery store. And so I got the Gatorade Orange, and when you mix it up in a stein, which is what I do, one of those packs, it's the exact same color as that beer.
Okay.
So I've had a lot of glasses like that recently.
Okay. But I'm sure none that have tasted as interesting as this. This is a really
No.
out there beer. And man, they definitely do it well. Definitely an ode to the Midwest area, you know, the agricultural mecca of the United States, and definitely tying in some local ingredients with the heirloom tomatoes there and the smoked peppers, and definitely doing something interesting.
You know
So,
what? I saw something in the chat there, Brian. Somebody said it tastes like a Bloody Mary. I bet you
yep,
it would be an on point Michelada beer.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That is I've been at a loss for what I know this flavor as, and
Yeah.
it's 100% a Bloody Mary. Yep. Damn. Good call, Dale. So Isaac, we mentioned earlier that tonight we're gonna talk a little bit, catch up.
Yeah.
We're, you know, old friends, but your job, your day-to-day life, your day-to-day work really ties in with what we do here at Brews Less Traveled, you know, focusing on traveling and visiting different beer scenes and trying to find those hidden gems in those beer scenes. That's pretty much what you do. So do you want to explain for the folks at home what you do?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, it's kind of fun because I've worked for the company for a very long time now at this stage, and I've worn a lot of different hats. But currently, and I've had probably at least 100 job descriptions. I'm not far from exaggerating, which I think is a problem when you wear so many hats. Well, not the problem. I think it's that what happens when you are so versed in very many things.
A fact of the reality. Yeah.
Um, and so my job currently, I think my current title is business development manager, although I'm not sure how development oriented it is. But essentially, what I do is I handle our franchises. So we are a franchisable model. Um,
We being the sister company
yeah, thank you.
of
Yeah.
Brews Less Traveled, City Brew Tours.
City Brew Tours. Yeah, I failed to mention the biggest part, the company that I work for. Um, and we have franchising opportunities. So essentially, and the fun thing about franchising is you're not allowed to talk about franchising. But there's only so many things you're not allowed to talk about. But you know, we get people all the time that come and visit the cities that we're in, and they say, "Hey, you know, I'm from Insert X place. We have so many great breweries. Why aren't you all there?" So we figured out about 5 years ago. Well, hey, we could be there. Why don't we franchise? So essentially, what I do is I go to a new city that somebody has decided would fit the City Brew Tours model, and I help them from inception to completion get off the ground. So it's a really tough job because I've got to go around and deal with brewers all day and go to different cities and different breweries. You know, not all heroes wear capes.
No. So how do you help those breweries, or how do you help those franchisees work with breweries? How do you help them get off the ground? What does that work really entail?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I mean, it's everything. So it's what to look for in bands, our demographic, the business model, the people who are coming to your city. It is how to run a city brew tour. We come from a place where some of our core values, and one of our biggest core values, is safety. I'm working in a brewery, and I think with city brew tours, you understand. But for everybody out there, our number one, when we're going to production breweries, part of our model is showing the grain glass experience to all of our guests. And we don't just sit in tasting rooms. So we actually take you and show you how beer is made from inception to completion along the way. And we do that by dividing, the hot side, the cold side, packaging and production. And we even do a beer and food pairing on just about every single tour, where we take you out, we do a Randy Mosher style, why not do what the best did? And teach them how to do it. So it's everything from beer education to, setting up your booking systems and third parties and finding a van and getting gas marketing. Obviously, I don't know how to do all those things, but we have a staff that does. So it's keeping that organized, keeping them organized, and essentially getting them running to where people come to their city and they can do exactly what they saw when they found out about us.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's a lot of project management and keeping them on task and pushing them towards a successful, speedy opening.
Right.
But I know that there's another big aspect that you've somewhat touched on, is that on the groundwork and going to those cities, working with them to get breweries on board, to get committed to the tours. And I know you've been traveling around a lot. So where have you been recently? Tell us where your travels have taken you so far in 2023.
Oh man, I think this would be a good time for me just sing that Johnny Cash song. Um,
I've been everywhere, man.
listing them all off. It has been a really busy 2023 for us. We hit the ground running. So I started the beginning of this year in Milwaukee. Just a plug for there. We're getting ready to launch. And the end of March. So coming up soon. Stay tuned for friends and family. Anybody that's around there or close to there or wants to make a destination. We're nearly ready to get that off the ground. Surprisingly warm weather while I was out there. Warm for Milwaukee.
Really?
Yep. It was very cool. My MO is always to try to hit as many, go to as many new places as I possibly can, because every like Brews Less Traveled is all about that, right? But this is the real life experience. I actually get to go in and have it. There were some really cool places in Milwaukee. It really surprised me. And I guess every city surprises me when I go, and I have preconceived notions about what it's going to look like, but really that's not up to me, because we're going where we're going to go. But there was a really cool brewery there. It was called Broken Bat. They had, I was just infatuated with the baseball team. And they had, their mug club was hollowed out baseball bats, which I thought was very, very fun. They had an entire outfield in the back. Also, speaking of Bloody Marys, I got the best Bloody Mary of my life while I was in Milwaukee. So that was very fun. So I've been to Milwaukee. I've been to Asheville. We're opening up a city brew tours in North Carolina, and one of the beer capitals of the world. I have been to Tampa. We've got some Tampa businesses coming soon, so stay tuned for that. And I have also been to, I feel like I'm forgetting, Austin, Texas. So we recently just launched in Austin, Texas. Absolutely fantastic. I've had a lot of that nice southeast weather, along with the cold as well.
Sounds like some good places to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've literally been all over
I have been all over.
the map. You're based in DC. You're based in the DC area, so you've been up to down to Austin, over to Asheville, down to Tampa. Not all together, but
right, not all together.
this nice spread throughout the country so far.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just kind of lining them up, and I'm getting my orders. And, seeing a lot of different places. I was completely unprepared for Tampa. I'm a big shorts and sandals kind of guy. and I haven't worn sandals in like 6 months. It feels like, and I
Had to break them back in.
I had to break. I had blisters on my feet from all the walking I did. Um, you know, I always bring my sandals. Everyone laughs at City Brew Tours because they know I don't like to wear shoes, which is ironic because it's one of the stipulations of taking our tours. Um, we are in the back of the house at a lot of production facilities, so I always have a backpack with me, and I'll have my sneakers in case I need to throw them on. But if I can be in sandals, I'm in sandals, and over the winter, if I'm in moccasins, I'm in moccasins.
Yeah, so you mentioned some really cool cities that you've been to. Of course, people know Milwaukee because of Miller. You
Sure.
mentioned Broken Bat. That sounds like a cool brewery.
Yeah.
I won't say anything more about that. Um, but people know Asheville, love Asheville.
Sure.
But Tampa's interesting because I think maybe a lot of certain people with a certain view of the beer scene may be familiar with Tampa and the Florida beer scene, but what surprised you about going down to the Florida beer scene? Because I don't think, anywhere in Florida gets talked about like, the Northeast or the Pacific Northwest or California or Colorado. So what was interesting about going to Tampa?
So Tampa, for anybody that follows sort of beer news and industry and what's going on, there's been some really fun stuff and it's great from a third party to sit back and kind of watch these breweries online squabble with each other about silly things. But what I think surprised me the most is there is every market that we go into, we usually have a few competitors. These are people that are also running beer tours in that particular city. And the same way that, you can have 10 breweries that all exist in a 4-mile radius, I think there's enough business to go around for beer tours. That and our model exists very differently. We actively work very hard to squash that drunk bus mentality and focus on the education of things. So, and hear me out because I am answering your question. I'm just going about it a really long way. So in Tampa, which I'm seeing in the chat, a lot of people love Tampa. It was fantastic. The beer scene there is fantastic. They also have a beer bus that exists there. And I was talking with the brewery. We're having a brewery meeting, sitting down, working out logistics for us. And this bus must have dropped off about 3 times in the hour that I was there with a bunch of people that were, coming in and getting beer and very drunk. And it was early in the morning already. Not how we operate, the complete opposite of how we operate. And they were just, obviously so sick of them. And it turns out the same owner of Cigar City is also the owner of that bus and numerous other properties around Tampa. He's not a businessman, he's a businessman.
It's a businessman.
Yeah. And the most surprising thing that I found there was when I talked to the staff at that particular brewery, they were like, "This sounds great. Let's talk about it further. We don't like that. We don't like the beer bus, but obviously they have to take them. Like, this is the first stop. It has to be the first stop because they don't deal with it otherwise." So I thought it was really fun that everybody really just kind of dug into our model of the beer education and focusing on that side of thing. Even the same company that owns, their drunk bus was like, "Yeah, let's do this. This sounds awesome."
Yeah, I think a lot of people may know Tampa for Cigar City, and there are some very energetic folks in the chat advocating for the Tampa beer scene. But again, I think it's one of those cities that really fits the Brews Less Traveled idea. The City Brew Tours idea is like, let's showcase that there is that's interesting. That there is good beer everywhere, and that there is amazing beer everywhere, and that there's uniqueness to these beer cultures in these big cities all throughout the United States. And with that said, I think I want to get into another beer from our friends here at A Homestead Brew.
Absolutely.
Out of Valley Springs, South Dakota. Hope everybody in South Dakota is staying safe.
So, while you're doing that, Brian, you'll really appreciate this. Because I'm gonna pull it out and show it to you. Um, there was this one space, and they were in Ybor, in Florida, just outside of downtown Tampa, and it's called Brewery House. It's a lager house. So obviously, you can imagine I spent a lot of time there, loving the lagers, and they had these fantastic shirts, and they didn't have them in my size, which is very large. And I picked one up anyways, with the hope that I'm going to lose a lot of weight. I did go to Best at Brewing, yes. Fantastic guys. Also worked brewed at Cigar City as well before they moved on. Brian, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to show that's sitting right here.
I will stall for Isaac. He is in his office. He is moved off of screen right now, grabbing something. Show and tell.
So this is the shirt that it's an extra large, so I shouldn't have to go too far to fit into it.
But shouldn't have to go far.
I've got to go down, not up. I think you'll really appreciate this though.
Yeah, you were both fans of novelty shirts.
Oh, my green screen it says it's a lousy day to be a lager. And it's this lager up against the wall in a spotlight.
That can has gone through some shit.
Yeah.
That can looks very scared. I like that shirt a lot. That's
actually
great.
You know what? I opened it. It looks like I might be able to squeeze it. I'm going to try this all when we're done. I'm not going to do it right now. Maybe for next week. Isaac tries on brewery shirts.
Yeah.
The whole segment.
Yeah, and then I don't know where I was going with that. We have our second beer here from A Homestead Brew. It's the Potsdam Dunkel, a nice 5.2% dark Munich Dunkel, a Munich German dark style lager. Isaac, I know you're a big fan of the dark lagers, and I feel like they're getting a lot more love these days. Schwarzbier, Tomave Pivo, the Dunkels. It's good to see people embracing the dark side of crispy boys.
Yeah, 100%. As a matter of fact, I'm drinking a German style dark lager from Burial, Asheville.
So
I'm getting down on the crispy boy side of things here.
I'm surprised it has a very simple name and a sentence long.
The darkness of a strange side of my immortal summer vacation.
I'm sure there's some very long thing written on the side of that can somewhere.
No, it's not. I think this might be a surprise out of all the cans there. This is just a simple, it looks like a buffalo skull or something. I don't know.
They're great.
Beer's delicious. Yeah. Dark lagers are getting their comeuppance. I'm here for it.
Yeah, definitely here for it. It's good. I think something that puts off a lot of people from dark beers is that they assume they're all the same. They're all bitter, roasty, just taste like coffee, but there's a lot more to be pulled out of those dark malts. And I think one of the best ways they get expressed is in the dark lagers.
Oh yeah.
I'll hang around for the day that English mild comes up because I believe that is the best style to showcase dark malts. Just my hot take, but
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I've seen a lot of milds and ESBs kind of popping back up more common, more than there used to be. I think that's sort of like reminiscent from the COVID times of everybody just had the time to focus on things. They're like, well, nobody's buying beer anyway, so let's brew a lot of beer. Let's do lagers now.
Let's do a Tomave Pivo.
Yeah. And then people find out they love it. I think that was a renaissance for a lot of breweries and people. I think it was a good thing.
There were good things to come out of these last couple of years. Somebody in the chat, somebody very helpful, is mentioning that Potsdam, the city that this is named after, is actually Sioux Falls' sister city. So that's why that beer is named that. Fun fact. Thanks, chat. If we could have avoided the weather in Sioux Falls tonight, we probably would have learned that from our wonderful planned guest.
A lot of hot takes in the chat tonight. There's a lot of riled up. There's like 8 riled up people out there.
people standing for Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
No, this is a very cool brewery. Tying into that Sister City comment there, A Homestead Brew is a very cool brewery. They've been planting hops and farming in that Valley Springs area since 2012. Eventually opened a brewery in 2017 and try to use as many ingredients as possible from their local area, if not their own local farming. They grow up a ton of hops there. The last I read, they had about 2 acres of hop farming there, and that's pretty significant for a brewery of this size to have their own 2 acres of hops that they're growing from and pulling from, and happy for them because it helps them really showcase what South Dakota can offer as an agricultural product. And boy, this Dunkel is nice. So, Isaac, you travel a lot. You go to all these different cities. You've been to 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 as far as I could count cities so far this year.
Yeah.
What do you like best about having to travel to all these cities for your work?
Like I said, it's a really tough job, but somebody's got to do it. I do feel incredibly lucky to be able to go out and do it. For me, it's, when I first started doing this job, I had a full-time job and I started doing this as a part-time guide. And I came in, I knew that I liked beer. I knew that I liked to drink beer, and I knew about craft beer and local beers, but I didn't know as much as I do today about beer. And I fell in love immediately with the beer industry, with the people, with the breweries, with the brewers, with the staff, with the guests. And for me, it's having the opportunity to just visit so many breweries and meet so many different people in the industry. We say this is a 99% asshole-free industry. And from what I found, that it's pretty true. I mean, maybe 98, but it holds pretty true. So the people, and every time I go to a new place, I try, every time I have to drink a beer at that location. If I drink a beer at this place, I'll try to get a sticker from every brewery that I go to. Unfortunately, I used to put them on my keys, or I had an old converted over chest freezer into a kegerator essentially. And when it died, I lost all of my stickers. So what I do now is I put everything on a magnetic paper and cut it out. And I actually just counted when I came back from Tampa on Sunday. I just counted. I've got over 200 stickers that I've turned into magnets on my now kegerator. So if that ever dies, I can take them and pull them over. And that's something that I just recently started doing.
Damn.
Yeah. So it's great. It's great to see it. And I get to see America. I've seen a lot of, this is the opposite of a lot of people. I've seen a lot of the world and I haven't seen a lot of America. I'm not very well traveled within the US. So it gives me an opportunity to see different places and just get new perspectives. I think, it really does change sort of like your outlook on everything, going to new places and traveling. So I feel blessed that I'm able to do that as well. And all the while, meet new people and still continue to drink beer.
Yeah, as somebody that's somebody that does something very similar for this job, that traveling around and having the requirement to go to breweries and have these meetings and talk with people. It's great. It's definitely a great way to earn money and do something that makes you feel fulfilled in what you do. But when you get that little bit of time outside of meeting with people and running around at different spots and just doing that work, and you get to suck in and absorb what that city is, what life in that city is, even if it is just for a couple hours at the end of the night, getting to observe what it's like for those people living their normal everyday lives.
Exactly.
in that beautiful place. Because there's so many beautiful places around the country, like,
Yeah.
and they're so different. I mean, you mentioned so many of them. Milwaukee being on the Great Lakes, Asheville being in the Blue Ridge Mountains,
Right.
Tampa, Dell being in Florida and on the Gulf Coast. Like, there's so much diversity there already in terms of the landscape and the layouts, and in Austin, Texas too.
Right.
There's so much diversity in those landscapes and layouts, and you really get to take in what that does to your psyche as a person, just experiencing a day there.
Just even seeing new people, getting out of your comfort zone, leaving the house, going somewhere else, like it's very different. And I did want to go back and just plug Austin for anybody listening. If you're close, Austin is live. They are running tours. We are going to some amazing places out there. And speaking of, kind of exploring while you're down there, huge shocker for anybody that doesn't know, I'm a huge barbecue guy. Love Texas, South Texas, Central Texas inspired barbecue. So I rented a car while I was down there and actually did, I went out to put hour outside of downtown, Austin in my free time and got to go to some of those cool places and those barbecue cultures. It's almost like brewery culture, people line up and they wait early in the morning. Except, they're not consuming their cans like right there and then leaving.
They're not eating barbecue in the park. Yeah.
I mean, but it's wild. Like, you'll never see, I can't imagine anywhere else in the world where people are going to start lining up at 6 a.m. on, like a Thursday morning for barbecue, and then like just eating the most amazingly rich platter of barbecued meats, and like, what are you doing? You're not going to work after that. You're going home and taking a nap. Like, get out of here.
Very similar to waiting in a can line and surviving the can line share.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have what's your least favorite part of traveling?
Oh man, there's a lot of good parts. There's a lot of bad parts. I think, man, I don't want to focus too much on the negative. I guess the big thing for me is I've got two bulldogs. I miss them very much, when I travel. And my partner, I miss her very much as well when I travel. But being on the road, my least favorite part is probably the food thing. I love to cook. There's nothing like getting a home cooked meal. Like, literally every time I get back from traveling, it's like I'll make up a huge salad and just eat the entire thing myself. Like, my body is it needs greens. When you're on the road, when you're moving around and traveling, it's a hamburger and fries, and
yeah, you're trying to meet people, make friends, and
exactly.
what they say, you don't make friends with salad.
You don't make friends with salad. That's right. So I probably just like the eating healthy thing, the missing the home parts, and then airlines too. I'm a big guy. You're a big guy. It's always my luck that, I'm on the middle seat and the other two biggest people on the plane are sitting on either side of me.
I would refuse to be in a middle seat. So good on you for, yeah.
I did it once and now I don't.
I get where you're coming from in terms of like that missing home. For me, the worst part of traveling is like after you do all the fun stuff, after you go and visit the places that you go to and that you want to go to, you get back to the hotel room and you shut that door and it's just quiet. And it's like, oh, well, what do I do now?
Right.
It's no more fun. I just have to like do the boring things as a human, but by myself without the support system and people that I love to share those moments with. Like, I'll be honest, I don't even mind. I will even go out on a limb and say, I like an airport. I like an airport. I'm not even going to say I don't mind. I like airports.
All right. Well, you're a man that enjoys lawlessness then, because that's what airports feel like to me.
Dude, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast. One of my favorite movies of all time is Up in the Air, especially the travel scenes where he's going through all the airports. Like, there's something about an airport, the gateway to travel, the gateway to the freedom that travel has involved into it. I really like the vibe, and especially like places like Logan. Missing Logan Airport right
Yeah.
now in Boston. Had a lot of good times there. Had a lot of good times at Minnesota, Minneapolis Airport, and Denver Airport, and yeah, there's something nice about those places. But man, when you get to the end of the day and you shut the door at your hotel room and it's like, do I open one of these 4-packs now? Do I just go to bed?
Yeah, you need to make some decisions. And for me, it's like sometimes there's bars and restaurants and things right outside the hotel, and it's like I know I could go out and I could have a beer, but it's kind of like if you give a mouse a cookie, well,
Shutting down the bar. Yeah, I'm
next
there
thing you know,
closing. Yeah,
it's a rough next day, and that. So I noticed, are those the Bose headphones that you're wearing?
they are.
So I recently, just before my last trip, picked up a set because I borrowed one before my last trip, and it has been an absolute game changer for traveling. So that's my one recommendation to anybody out there that does a lot of traveling is the noise canceling wireless. I'm not wearing them right now, but
Yes. Yeah, these are actually Sennheisers. They're
okay.
they're better. They're better
Yeah,
than
yeah.
those.
You're an audiophile. I need to block out, the other people.
No, I'm there with you, man. Even if you don't put anything on, if you could just put them on.
Yep.
The last thing I want to do is have a conversation with a stranger on a plane.
Oh yeah.
The last thing I want to do is hear anyone talking on a plane. I wish they were more strict on planes. People complain about how strict they are. I wish they were more strict, and they were like, no one is allowed to talk.
No talk. It's dark outside.
No
Everybody
talking.
has to have their windows down.
Quiet.
Nobody can turn on their overhead lights. I don't care if you're reading. Go to the
Quiet.
bathroom.
Headphones or sleep. That's it.
I'm with you. Maybe we should start something.
Yeah. Introvert Airlines. For when you want to go to fun places and enjoy the company of other people, but you don't want to enjoy their company while you're going to those fun places.
You don't
Introvert Airlines.
Well, you don't want to make small talk.
No small talk. Get out. Where are you going? Oh, are you going home, or is this a new city for you?
Right. Oh, I'm cringing already just with your suggestions.
No, I don't want to talk about that, Mary. Janet. Well, thank you, Isaac. Thanks for jumping in and joining me today. It's good catching up. I'm excited to see you next week. Absolutely. And drink some more beers. We'll talk to the owner and head brewer of next week's featured brewery, which is Severance Brewing Company out of, surprise, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Bet you didn't guess that one. One more thanks to A Homestead Brew for supplying beers for tonight's episode and for the Brews Less Traveled Beer Club. Remember, you can check out Brewvana.com and explore the subscription options where you can help support the show, and also in return you'll get awesome beers like these shipped to you directly on a monthly basis. A whole box of beer just shows up to your door, and you also help support this content that I'm sure you enjoy. We'll be back next week. Until then, stay safe, and support local breweries, everybody. Cheers. Peace out.
Thanks for watching Brews Less Traveled on YouTube. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more interviews with brewery professionals.